Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mantalk.ke. Thanks for coming back for another week. We're here at Kofisi. We're at 9 West, which is in Westlands. This has some very, very interesting rooms. We are in the knowledge room where you can hold meetings, presentations, and it's kind of like a boardroom as well. We've just had a lot of coffee. The coffee here is outstanding. So if you want Kofisi to be your working space for yourself, or if you want it for your company, the link's going to be down below. You can always check it, check the rates, see if it works for you, and tell them we sent you as well. We're really, really excited for this interview. When we switch to the wide lens, you'll see why. But I'm going to chuck it to O. Oh, do you want to tell the people what's going on today?
Ladies and gentlemen,
Tell them.
in front of you is the indefatigable,
Oh my goodness.
the limitless,
Wow.
the fantastic,
There it is.
Jessica Francisca Colaço, the founder of iHub,
There we go.
I'd say the godmother of the startup ecosystem.
There
in
it
Kenya.
is. There it is. Tell them.
And one of the most influential women we've ever had. A TED fellow. If I start, I could.
Yeah.
And on top of all that,
Yeah.
a bass guitarist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's productivity, then there's productivity. I nearly called her the Elon Musk of Nairobi, but if I did that, this leather jacket would not be able to fit the ego. So welcome, man. Welcome to Mantalk.ke, Jessica. How are you feeling? How are you feeling today? How are you feeling this morning?
First and foremost, thank you, Oscar, and thank you, Eli, for inviting me here. How I'm feeling? Very energetic.
Nice.
Very enthusiastic to share my story to the people out there. So let's get rolling.
Yeah.
Let's get rolling.
Yeah.
Let's get rolling.
Yeah. The aim of this is to inspire young ladies and young guys, and the kind of path you've taken, I think it's very unique, but I'm hoping through telling your story, telling the lessons you've learned on your journey, that some young guys there might be like, okay, this is what I wanted to do, and this is now the kind of path I want to take. So with every single episode, when we start here, we want to find out like where the roots came from, like how you became the person you are today and how your younger life informed that. So we ask every single time, like, what was your upbringing like and how has that informed the person you are today? Like, paint the picture of a young Jessica. What kind of life was that?
Man, the young Jessica was a very hyped up person. And I remember when growing up, this is like around the age of 3 and 5. I still remember some of this to some extent. My mom would look for me everywhere because I was all over, right? I wanted to know how things work. And when we used to go on holidays, press panic buttons, and then the entire security team would show up, and I'd be like, what did I do? I just pressed a button. Yeah. So I'd like to find out like how things worked. I remember at the age of, I think, 9 or 10, I shorted the entire house because I fixed a fuse for a 3-pin plug and the fuse box blew. So growing up, I was just really curious about how things worked, and was all over finding out like, why is this color? Why is this shape?
Were you born and raised in Nairobi?
I am very much Nairobian. So by origin, I'm actually Goan. And a little history about that is the Portuguese did colonize the west part of India, and Goans lived there. So we are the descendants of that. So half Indian, Portuguese / Goan. So I am actually 4th generation Kenyan on my mom's side and first on my dad's side. So I grew up and was born in actually South Sea.
Here we go. I should just leave it.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. We continue to outperform expectations.
Every episode.
Please continue, Jessica. Sorry to interrupt.
This is why.
Now you know.
Okay. The mafia.
It's a little mafia, isn't it?
It's a little mafia. Yeah.
Go on. Please tell us about South Sea. Tell us about your brain. Continue.
So, South Sea, way back in the 80s, was a really quiet, nice neighborhood, suburban. You could take walks, very, very green environment. And you could just do your evening walks with your family, or you could walk around to the shop and buy some milk and bread, And it was very peaceful kind of setting, you know. So that peace and calmness is really what I really appreciated growing up in South Sea.
Yeah.
And I am an introvert, maybe tending now to be an ambivert, but was a big introvert growing up in South Sea. So I would actually, during school holidays, I would actually just be at home tinkering like with woodwork and building different things during my school holidays.
Building.
Yes.
Sorry to take you back, because your CV is now based on innovation, and it seems that it already started from a very, very young age. Is there any specific project you did when you were younger that you're very, very proud of and kind of indicates to who you are today?
That's interesting. So my mom was my biggest supporter growing up, and she actually bought me books. At this time, in the 80s, there were no like computers around you where you could actually access Google and things like that and learn like how we have opportunities right now. So she bought me books. I don't know if you know the books Tell Me Why, and then More Tell Me Why. So I used to read those books, and she used to buy me other books, how to make stuff. And in primary, actually, like developed an interest in woodwork and metalwork as well, and a bit of art. So I liked action movies. So I don't know if you know the movie Knight Rider.
Yeah, we know Knight Rider.
Yeah, so
Knight Rider!
I used to watch that very avidly, and it's just like, Michael, you press the car. Where are you going? The right. So it's like, I want to make a gadget like that, right? So anyway, I would do woodwork, and you know how you actually make the joints and things like that. So I would tell my mom, I need some wood, a hammer, and some nails and some glue. And my mom's like, okay, get you that. And my dad's like, okay, fine, get you that. Then you make a gun, kind of thing. And then you'd be like, get the guns out there. I'm Michael, Knight Rider, kind of thing. So, I used to do all that on my own. Very, very kind of, I'd say individual contributor, lonesome kind of person doing my own thing in my own world.
Wow.
It's crazy that one of your core memories is short-circuiting your house. That's very telling. How important do you think your parents nurturing that kind of talent and curiosity was into turning you who you are today? How essential was that?
Well, I think most importantly was you need to be aware of your surroundings. And I think for me, and this is what has built my self-awareness, is that my mom was very observant of my sister and I growing up. And she observed the hyperness, the curiosity, and with that, I think having that support of your family member, especially your parents, especially your mom who gave birth to you, brought you to this world, was very important. And I think having that kind of support and stability in your life as a child, the love, the caring, the ability to give you the tools and that environment to actually enable you to get that curiosity out, by getting like Lego sets and books on how to read, on how stuff works and things like that, I think was really important. So she provided me with a channel to actually release this curiosity and actually learn by doing practical building.
That's incredible. Yeah. Speaking of building, now, obviously you've you discovered your passion for computer science, and you've built a lot of interesting tools and technologies, not just for profit, but also for non-profit reasons. So how did you come to discover computer science in your development stages?
Oh man, my journey of stumbling upon computer science, I think, is very serendipitous. And
There's the word.
There's the word. We were waiting.
Swish.
and I would say it's probably intentional serendipity. Right now, what I've encompassed like learning over the last years is that serendipitous is random. But I think over time, I have actually come across things with intentional serendipity. My dad used to bring home an Apple cube. So I used to play actually games on that. So this is at the age of around, I remember 13, 14. So as in Form 1 at that time. And then in Form 2, some of my mom's friends, expats, were actually selling a computer, and it was a Pentium. I can't remember whether it was a Pentium 1 or Pentium 2, but she bought that for me, and it was running on Windows 95, I believe, or 98. Yeah, 98, and it was just like MS-DOS. So I was curious, open up Windows, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. The software running. Now I was more interested, does this thing have games?
Yeah.
So in my neighborhood around like Nairobi West and South B, some of my friends, other Goans, did have like games on CDs. So we loaded like NBA games, racing games, and then just playing with that, right? So the first thing you come across a computer, you just want to play games.
Yeah.
And then you come across this console and you're like, what is this MS-DOS? So I started learning shortcuts on MS-DOS, and then you come across the famous Prince of Persia.
Yeah, that's how you used to open. That's how you used to open Prince of Persia. You used to go C/. Then you put the thing, then .exe. I could do it when I was younger. Now I honestly can't remember.
Exactly. So you come across the Prince of Persia,
Golden
and
Axe,
then so when you invite friends home, they know you have a computer. We start playing games, and then we're all there on a Sunday afternoon. We're all in the guest room, and we're playing Prince of Persia. And they're like, you know what? I know a hack on Prince of Persia.
Did you used to skip the stages?
So I used to skip the stages.
I hate you. She's a cheat. Control Shift L. So you used to skip the stages, guys. So that's how you started coding.
No, Prince of Persia was really not the coding side of things, but I was interested in how to actually make a game like that.
Yeah.
So I was like curious, and I was like, okay, I can do this admin console and shut down the computers with a terminal and things like that. But playing the games and actually like using software is really what intrigued my curiosity. Is like, okay, all these capacitors and circuit boards that we do have on the motherboard, really what powers them is actually like the software. So when my dad got me a laptop from his office, I was just curious, like, Windows XP was a very beautiful platform at that time. It's just like, I was like, this is an amazing piece of software. How do they create that? And that is what stuck in my mind. However, there's this side of me, when growing up, I used to go to the air shows at Wilson Airport, and I was very fascinated by planes. Yeah, like the Cessnas. And my mom would take me to Wilson Airport, and we'd watch the air shows. Now, a passion developed for pursuing a career in aeronautical engineering and piloting. And came along the computer. And as I kept on learning about planes and computers, I was just like, the planes are actually run by software. So the knowledge started to continue to build. How did I come upon computer science? Keep on asking.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you figure out the relationship between planes and software. So did you decide to build software for planes on your own, or how did you How did you like bridge the gap?
Interesting question. So when I was actually in high school, right? My favorite subjects were the sciences. And anyone knows this, I actually went to Loreto Convent Valley Road. And
LCVR.
yes. Yeah. And high school is one of the years that I enjoyed immensely. I cannot even emphasize that enough, because this really uncovered my full potential in what I loved. I loved actually like being in the lab, seeing how a chemistry experiment is built. Really what tapped into the potential between hardware and software was the Science Congress. Now, I would participate in Science Congress every year from Form 1 to Form 4. And in my third year of high school, not third year of university, my third Form 3, we worked with my physics teacher, a physics professor, and we came up with a system whereby you could actually optimize routing for passengers using matatus in Kenya. So it kind of...
Wait. So you're optimizing routing for matatus in Kenya?
Yes.
At Form 3?
Yes.
Okay. Which year is this?
1999.
That's right before, that's before Google, before Facebook, before everything.
Yes.
Crazy. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. What we did was I looked at the routes in Nairobi, and I was like, it's interesting that people stop at bus stops and they get into the matatus and it's really full, and then you have to pay with cash, right? So people ask me if I've been in a matatu. Yes, I've been in a matatu.
12C is your matatu.
Thanks to my mom. I'm not saying 12C is my matatu, but my mom exposed me to the world of public transport when we were young, my sister and I, Natasha. And my mom's name is Mildred Colaço. We would go, when she would be on holiday, we would actually take a matatu from South Sea to town. Mm-hmm. And what I got curious about was how could we actually what really influenced that? So let me track back, right? So I actually visited London at the age of 11, right? And when I did visit London at the age of 11, it was a bit of a culture shock, because you're taking the transport you're using is a tube. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. You buy your ticket and you say which route you're going in, put the money in, and then you just get your ticket and you go into the tube. And then I remember my mom's cousins were taking us around London, right? Kensington Station, Charing Cross. And I was like, this is interesting, the routes. And I looked at that map and I was like, this is an interesting way of optimizing travel to and fro within the London city. So that really embedded in my mind. And I didn't realize years later when I'm in high school that that was a concept that was boiling up mentally to see like how we could actually use a similar use case for matatu travel in Nairobi. So with my physics professor, we were like, let's have, you know how you actually like put a coin in a juice vending machine, right? And then you pick what you want. So the idea was, okay, let's make it simple. From Valley Road, because Loreto Valley Road. If you want to go from Valley Road to town, you just pick your route, and then you see, actually on the board, you can actually see what it was, and then you put a coin in, and then it disperses your ticket, and then you just wait for your matatu. So I presented it again in Form 4. We optimized it a little bit with an actual dispensing now of for coins, and then I left it at that.
So I'm curious, with all of this exposure, ideas, curiosity, and the kind of background that you've described, for people that don't know and that are watching, what do you do now at this age with all of that as the background?
What do I do right now? Right now, I am a tech entrepreneur, and my specialty is building high-performance teams. So I help executives to align their strategy with their workforce. Aside from building high-performing teams and being a tech entrepreneur, I also am a musician, and I have an upcoming EP called Metamorphosis that I'm currently releasing at the end of September. And another thing I also do is public speaking.
There it is.
How many days in a week?
There's more, but I'll stop there.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So I want to talk about iHub and being a pioneer in that space. Because obviously the time that you were doing it, it was to be a pioneer. It wasn't, around. So how did the concept of iHub come about? Because maybe people know iHub that are watching, but they don't know, the story of how it came about. Because I'm sure there's innovators watching. So to hear how someone's innovation happened and was successful, I'll be curious to know your journey into starting iHub.
All right. So, Eli, Oscar, how did I meet you? I met you at a coffee shop, right? And that was through a serendipitous meeting.
Yeah.
And here we are today having this podcast. Similar concept. The community, especially the tech community, or people in general, when they want to actually meet and interact, what do? They meet over a coffee, tea, food.
Yeah.
So techies like myself would meet at Java's, and we'd have conversations about, oh yeah, this is the latest technology being used. This is the latest Linux distro. Try it, download it. This is what I'm doing on mapping. Try this mashup. This is the language I'm using, PHP framework, Laravel. Let's try this. What interesting things can we work on? And we'd have about 3-4 people meeting like at Sarit Center or the mall at the food court. And I remember just after, when I was in university, there was a group called Skunkworks. That was created by the likes of Josiah Mugambi and Riaz Bachani. And this was really a group to bring together people in technology to have a conversation once a month, just to talk about anything interesting in tech. And I heard about this group in my second and going to my third year of university. And I remember Riaz Bachani reaching out to me and asking to meet. And I was very shy at that point in time. I was like, maybe not. And Skunkworks, I continued to hear about Skunkworks. And Skunkworks is really where the idea of actually setting the iHub started. And I have to give credit to that community, because from that community, the likes of Dr. Bitange Damo actually gave space at his office. I'm not sure if it's Telposta Towers, and they would meet there once a month and invite a group of 20-30 people. And this was around 2007, 2008. And finally, when I graduated from university in 2007, 2008, I was exposed to the community of Skunkworks. Riaz and Josiah were asking me to showcase my final year project, which was a wireless mapping service that could show you routes around Nairobi and find your way.
Stop it there. So when you were 11, you saw a map in London. When you were in high school, you designed a routing system with a ticketing service. And now you designed after, in your university days, geographic mapping service for mobile phones.
Yes, even before Google came into the country.
Tough. So there's a lot of consistency there. So you see, your story is actually very consistent.
Yes.
Crazy. Okay, please continue. So please continue with with the. So you meet guys at Skunkworks at Poster.
So actually, Oscar.
Yeah.
I actually never met them at Telposter Towers.
Really?
I am a huge introvert.
Yeah.
And my friends who are developers like Wilfred Moria and Brian Mita and Riaz Bachani and Josiah would talk to me and say, hey, you need to come. People want to hear how you actually developed the mapping service on the smartphones D2M. And I was like...
Did the mapping service have a name, if you don't mind my asking?
If?
The mapping service, did it have a name?
I called it WMS.
Nice.
Wireless mapping service.
Okay.
Yeah, what every techie does at that point in time. We put acronyms to everything.
Yeah.
So, really, how did... This is really interesting because this is way back in time. You're really making me go way back in time. So, this is the story. So Wilfred Moria, who is an exceptional developer and thought leader in this space, said Eric Hirschman is in town and he would like to meet you. And Eric had SMS'd me a couple of months ago saying, hey, Jessica, I hear you're a really good mobile developer. I would like to meet you so you can be part of the Ushahidi mobile project as a volunteer. But I didn't reply. I was shy and I didn't meet him at that point in time. And a couple of months later, Wilfred said, Eric is in town. And then also Steve Mutinda at that point in time Eric was in town. These are developers who actually worked on the Ushahidi platform.
So what exactly is the Ushahidi platform for our audience members watching?
Ushahidi means witness in Kiswahili, and Ushahidi is a platform that came about during the post-election violence in 2007 and 2008. It was a platform that was developed during a crisis. It's something that takes about 1 to 2 weeks to develop. This platform was built in 12 to 18 hours by developers globally, but 80% of them came from Kenya. And it was a platform whereby you could actually send data using SMS and use through a web platform, and then the information would traverse onto a map, and you could visually see where the violence was happening in different parts of Kenya. So if there was theft, if there was fires, if there was killings, they would be color-coded on different things on the map. So bloggers on the ground were sending information using mobile technology. And this is what we call digital humanitarian technology.
I want to rewind back to what you mentioned, right? Because to get to that, where you're developing something like that that's going to help people, there was a moment you sort of jumped over where you had an opportunity to meet this gentleman, Eric, right? And you had the skills, facilities, there was a reason he wanted to meet you. But one of the hurdles you mentioned is that being an introvert going to that meeting was like a big deal. So, but a lot of the time when people hear advice, they hear that, opportunities meets preparation, but there's silent hurdles like being an introvert and not wanting to put yourself out there that can maybe stop a lot of potential. So what were practical things you did as an introvert to actually get yourself in the room regardless and bet on yourself and have those conversations?
You have to pick up a lot of courage to actually even stepping out. And my mom, again, my biggest supporter, she's like, this is the third time. He's like, you need to go. And I think just having friends around me who said, let's go together, gave me a bit of the courage. And I met Eric at a Prestige. We had met at the Prestige food court. And he's like, so glad to meet you finally. And he's like, I follow your work avidly. What you're doing at Strathmore University. After university, studying computer science at the University of Nairobi, I joined Strathmore as a management consultant for about 3 years. But I was also doing a lot of work, training mobile development and training people in the technology scene to become mobile developers. And he was like, I've been keeping track of like the work you've been doing, and a couple of people have been telling me about what a good mobile developer you are. I was once called the Queen of Java. Yes, not anymore. The Queen of Java for mobile tech. I think I lost that many years ago. And I was amazed. Eric is this big, but he has a very domineering presence when you meet him. He's tall, but he's very soft-spoken and very eloquent. And he speaks to you in a way that's very welcoming. And I was like, he's an interesting person. So that's the first time I encountered Eric Hirschman. Yes.
So how did that relationship move from you working in the Ushahidi project, which is obviously your contributions there don't need to be restated because of just how much you contributed towards mapping a real life issue, such as, the election violence that Kenya experienced all those years ago. Could you touch a bit on what working in that team was like, the Ushahidi project, after meeting Eric Hirschman, what you learned from that project specifically?
Yeah, I would say the Ushahidi project was really a team project. And I think having leaders like Ori Okolo, Juliana Rotich, and David Kobia and Eric Hirschman leading that as the initial co-founders of Ushahidi, because they had a blogging background, it was easy for them to get content, and with the help of actually the right developers who are volunteer developers coming from the continent, especially Kenya, made it easier to actually like get the solution out in time for the people to actually see what was actually going on. So I think the key word there is trust and collaboration that people had with each other during that point in time when the country was undergoing such turmoil.
Yeah. Thanks.
Now, so back then in 2007, 2008, when that was happening, I didn't realize how big a part digital can play in terms of doing social good, right? But now in 2022, I think it's definitely the norm. If there's any like social justice, anything that needs to be highlighted, the kind of platforms we have now, it's in your face every single day, right? And you can see what's going on a global scale. How important do you think the role of tech is in battling social issues? Because you obviously had foresight back then, but now with the scope that you're seeing, how important do you think the role of tech is now?
Specifically to social issues or just generally?
No, social issues. Because I think if you're on Instagram, if you see an example, something like George Floyd, something like what happened in Nigeria.
Me Too.
Me Too. The first places you're seeing it are Twitter. And this is basically a reflection of the similar things you were doing back then. So I'm curious to know, how do you see the role of social media and tech in highlighting and fighting social issues? Because I think a lot of the people doing it are Gen Zs, are millennials, and we're really having a louder voice now. So how important do you think it is for like social media and tech in battling those things and then informing now like world leaders when it comes to social issues?
Right. I think social media has become what we call ubiquitous, right? That's a word we use in the world of computer science, meaning it's everywhere. And in some countries, it's banned, like China. A lot of the apps that are there are banned. But irregardless, they have created applications that are equivalent to the ones that are banned. So the fact that we have tools and channels on social media like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and a variety of others gives the young people and just people generally the power to actually speak freely. Right? So if you're able to actually have an environment online, digitally, to actually speak freely and actually have the right to fight for human rights and the activism, and done in the right way, if you actually put the right content out there with the right hashtags, I think you're definitely going to capture the audience of certain leaders who are looking out to actually help these young communities or human rights activists in doing that. I think one example I'd like to give is like a fellow TED fellow, Boniface Mwangi. He's very open and very elaborate on his social media channel, on Twitter, on Instagram, in terms of the political situation in the country. So I think as a human being, one thing you need to be is a bit disciplined and responsible in how you actually put out the content out there. But what I can say is that the social media channels in this time and they are giving people a chance to reach leaders who they could not reach before. Put out a voice that could not be heard before, things that were silenced, right? So I think if we have ways that they're responsibly used and used in a very polite way, a respectful way, I think you will get the attention of the right stakeholders.
Yeah. So it was a leading question because I wanted to get your perspective, because the opportunity to have you sat here as somebody that back then could see the importance of it. I now want to ask you where we are now. Where do you see the future of tech informing like politics and social issues? What do you see the future of that? Because back then you could see how essential it is, and now you're seeing the scope. Where do you see the future of tech, politics, and social issues?
Where do I see the future of politics and tech? I do think I know I've stood up on platforms and I have projected futuristic trends. I did this with mobile tech. Where do I see current tech? I can say Web3 definitely has potential in playing a huge role when it comes to engaging governments, when it comes to engaging businesses. How? I think we're still in the infancy stages of that right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is the future bright?
The future is bright because with Web3 is a lot of we're talking about decentralized systems and the use of blockchain and second layer protocols on top of blockchain. And I think you can already see, I'll give very recent example, Cardano. coming into the ecosystem, partnering with venture capitalists, partnering with credit lending platforms to actually have a way to help in financial inclusion. Now, when it comes to the politics side of things, or when it comes to government side of things, we need to see the policy side recognizing these type of platforms, like blockchain and Web3 and crypto. What role does it play in our economy? The futuristic side of things is that a person like yourself, myself, will be able to have digital assets that we might not necessarily actually have to have in like real estate. So definitely, I think Web3 and
decentralization
and the assets that come with it are going to be a big factor.
Yeah. Just to touch on decentralization, and obviously it's a little bit because you've taken it there, and I have you here, so I'll just like brush the question. Trustless transactions and having transactions that do not necessarily require middlemen and validation, I also think, from my perspective, can really take away a lot of the uncertainty around business in an SME market like here in Africa. Because I think essential services, for example, the fact that you can pay for electricity directly can really like change, like, remove the costs of it, those latent costs that come with, buying electricity, buying water, buying certain essential government services. I think that might even change like the politics of the day. But I wanted you to talk a little bit more on digital humanitarianism and the impact of that in the future and today. I think that's a philosophy not many people know about, and it came up in our research about kind of your achievements. Would you mind sharing kind of your belief in digital humanitarianism and how you've put that in your work today?
All right. So when I was growing up, some of the ethos I had was, can I remember? I used to have this in my CV when I was in Form 1, Form 4. I had a CV. Yes, I had a CV in Form 1 and Form 4, and it was to. So when I had my CV from Form 4, when I was going to university, I actually put that using mobile technology to make the world a better place. And what is digital humanitarianism? Yeah. It's just about harnessing or using the power of mobile technology, or using the power of technology as a whole. And this can be the use of mobile technology and social media to actually help in disaster recovery. That is actually what digital humanitarian technology is about. And for me, I think just seeing how the power of a small device, just this small, and the power of SMS technology and the power of a web form just provided data and information to people when they needed it the most was so powerful. So powerful. Simple, but yet so powerful. Because there was a media blackout in 2007 and 8. Can you imagine not having information? I'll give an example. What do you do if you do not have your phone the entire day? What do you go through? You don't have information.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what if you just let out, like, if you just made a hole in that wall and some kind of information came through? What would happen to you?
You'd know more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is what it brought to me, the awareness of how something so simple can make such massive change and impact. and the power of technology, and technology used in the right way can make a really good impact.
Facts.
Yeah.
With such a, like, I would say, illustrious career so far, right? There's obviously highs that you've mentioned and the innovation and the foresight, but I want to know about the lessons you learned, because it couldn't have always been smooth sailing from idea to execution. And like I said, my main goal here is somebody with a similar mind to you, that's slightly younger, to get some gems from your journey. So what were the main lessons that you wish somebody told you when you had those skills back there and then implemented them? What are some things you wish someone said? Be careful of this, or I recommend you do this. Like lessons you learned along the way.
Lessons I learned along the way. So definitely lessons when I was young, lessons when I was university.
Go. Start young. Yeah.
Organize them.
Yeah.
Organize them. So I'll start from a young child. A child is curious or doing something because there's something in the environment enhancing that. So pay attention to that. If you're a parent and you don't have that patience with your children, I think my advice is pay attention to your children as they're growing from a very young age all the way to a teenager. Look at how they're learning. Look at how they're eating. Look at observe the small things around them, right? Yeah. And I think for me, this is using the example of my parents observing certain things about me helped me to get to a career path that I actually really enjoy. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is, have somebody who believes in you. Identify that person. Whoever they are, never lose sight of them. Never embrace them with everything that you have. And I might be emotional about this because for me, that was my mom, my best friend.
Yeah.
Amazing.
She believed in me so much. I cannot express it. I would not be the person I am today if it was not for my mom.
Wow. I think the beautiful thing is, I think sometimes the mistake that other parents made that your mother didn't clearly is that sometimes parents can impose their dreams on their children, right? But when you actually look, like you said, you identify the kind of child they are and you nurture that talent, because your mom's generation would not have been interested in tech and blockchain, etc. But the fact that she nurtured the curiosity when you were short-circuiting the house gives the kind of mind that we have today. So I think it's a very good lesson that you said for parents, like nurture the individual, don't impose. If you wanted to be a piano player, don't make your child a piano player. Don't push them into music. Look at the kind of human. She might be both.
And you know, the interesting part is my mom got me a guitar at the age of 7. But the guitar was parked in the corner. And she got my sister an upright piano at the age of 8. My sister went for piano classes. And then who ended up playing the piano? Me.
Oh, wow.
When I was in high school, I was just like tinkering around. So she did everything to harness me and believe in me. So I kid you not, find that person out there who believes in you. If they believe in you, and if they're putting time in you, keep them here.
Let's take a break and grab you a tissue.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Okay.
Grab you a tissue.
Thanks for coming back after the break. Very, 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 very emotional. Everyone on site is very emotional.
Oscar was weeping.
I was crying. Tears, yeah.
I had to give him my tissue.
So we had shared tissues.
It's the best, guys.
So this is a perfect, I think, opportunity now to talk about your music and the relationship between that music and mental health. And I want to get into your music and Jessica the musician. I think that's something that I found very fascinating about you, that amongst all of your achievements, you still have time to kill it on music. Yeah. So what's the story about, your song, and what inspired you to get into music and to kind of build a brand around that?
All right. Again, growing up, this is when I was in primary. My sister was 2 years ahead, so she was in high school. They started a band with a group of friends, family friends, and I was supposed to be in the band, and I was like, me and my hyperness, I went out and I was like playful, playing with the dogs. Yeah. But then like a year or two later, I would just listen to them. And then I remember my mom had a stereo where you could record. So I would actually record myself singing. And this was just during primary. And then I remember I would enjoy Michael Jackson songs. And then La Bamba. Big tune. Yeah. So I would sing some of the songs and then record them, and then I'd be like, you know what? Influence, I'll call this tape Bass 24, right? And influence in music started around high school. My uncles used to play guitar, so we'd actually have sing-alongs. We'd have a lot of sing-alongs at home, so we'd sing like all the oldies. Amazing. Yeah, Frank Sinatra's, Elvis Presley's, Kenny Rogers. I've got you exactly.
Under my skin. Come on, got you deep in my heart.
Oh, buddy.
yes, please continue.
So the guitar that was bought for me, you would bring it out, and then my uncles would play it, and so eventually, after high school, started learning a bit of the guitar, and IB is really what influenced the guitar. I was like, oh my God, I've come from all girls school to like all boys school, and these guys are amazing. So going into the play at St. Mary's, and then you see all these guitars. Now I was like, I did ABRSM. So that's really how I got into music, and then self-learning and my uncle teaching me. And then again, my mom pushed me to go play for the youth group at Don Bosco. And there was a really strong person there, a parish priest, a man, Father Tony Fernandez. He pushed me to the edge, and he's like, you need to go and play for weddings. I had no idea what I was playing. Honestly, Oscar, it's just like, we're playing for weddings, and then we're playing, I'm like, what key is this, Karen? D, C, G. I'm just like, just play. And then they're putting the volume line. I'm like, guys, I'm playing the wrong keys.
Innovation.
Right?
Innovation.
Right? So anyway, I started out playing guitar at Don Bosco, and then eventually I found my passion on the bass guitar. It's like, what is this long guitar? And then boom. I was like, that is what I want to play. Mm. So it really started from, I would say, Don Bosco Church. That's where the musical path really started. And I wanted to be a musician. I was studying computer science at that time, and I was like, telling my dad, I actually want to be a musician. He's looking at me. Musician, computer science sounds a little better. Yeah. Building apps. Right. And my mom, she's like, you can do both. Continue. And from then I met colleagues in church who introduced me to the likes of Viola Karuri. Yeah. She came back from Berkeley, played for her for 2 years, played for rock bands, the likes of M2O, started my own rock band.
You started your own rock band?
Yes, and my childhood dream, Bass 24, I started a rock band.
Called Bass 24?
Yes. And then eventually played for Rish, who is a really famous rock musician in Kenya, underground, in a rock band called Always Summer in Africa. And now I'm 2 years later, releasing my own EP called Metamorphosis. It's time.
It's time for sure.
Outstanding. You were playing with somebody that studied at Berkeley, music at Berkeley.
Yes, Viola Karuri.
That's the level we're talking about. That's impressive. Yeah. What role does music play with your mental health and like decompressing from the tech side? Because marriage in those two worlds, there must be a reason why there's a balance of music and then technical aspect. Because maybe Monday to Thursday, you're like tech. Is music like your release from the other, or?
Monday to Friday is not just tech for me.
Oh, really?
Monday to Friday to Sunday to Saturday is music for me. Music is my decompression. It's my let out. It's my solace. When I need to calm down, I think earlier before set, you saw me with like headphones. I was using the music because there's a science and an art behind music. The different tones and the different decibels does something to the brain waves that calm you down or they hype you. Depending on the sine curve that you're at. Sorry to get so technical, but it really does that to you. Music is my heart and soul.
Wow. We can confirm this hypothesis. Before set, we listen to the 808s on Drake.
Yes.
Regularly.
Drake is our ritual.
Yes.
Just before we shoot. Just it's interesting. I have this phenomenon because I think you can explain it for me, and I've never understood why do I like really, really, really hard rock when I'm stressed.
Why?
Yeah. Are you the same? Like, because I like the riff.
Which hard rock? Which artist in specific? Guns N' Roses?
Harder.
Metal? Metallica?
Metallica.
Or Black Sabbath?
Metallica or Five Finger Death Punch.
Yeah. So for you, that's a little different because when I'm stressed, I do like EDM or house. It's like adrenaline rush. Boom, right?
I use EDM or house or Afro beats for work. Like when I'm doing something, it's like a high pressure, high focus environment. That's when I use that. But like when I'm like going through it like crazy, I want the decibels on maximum decibels.
So Oscar, can I ask you something?
Please go.
Think of me as a therapist here. Do you go to the gym?
Occasionally, but not as often.
Do you box?
I do have a real interest in MMA.
Okay. What I'll tell you, from what you've just told me, and this is something I think you've also uncovered, is that I'm able to spot talent. I think if you listen to hard rock, doing an equivalent sport, because metal is about mosh pit, it's about like headbanging and stuff like that. You're trying to let out something. You're trying to let out that emotion you're feeling.
Yeah.
Right. So it's synonymous with like a physical sport.
So I should cue my gym with like really hard metal rock as well.
You'll see.
Thank you very much. If you say Jessica, I believe it.
Madam Therapist. Yes,
we add that to her continuously expansive CV.
Yes, Madam, please diagnose me. I enjoy bossa nova and soft jazz and lounge music. However, I'm a beast in the gym. So explain this phenomenon. I'm confused. How does this balance?
So you're the cool temperament.
Correct.
He's a fiery temperament.
Correct.
I don't know if that's right.
Correct.
Yes,
correct.
So, you know why you enjoy the bossa nova?
Exactly. There we go. There it is. Don't make me salsa. Yeah, for sure.
So it's the bass getting you.
But just in a different.
It's the bass getting you, like it's making your heart pound.
Yeah.
But you're kind of in a Ferrari, but you're cruising.
That's quite the analogy. This makes sense. This makes sense.
She used Ferrari. That's how she got.
That's how she got me.
Wow.
Outstanding. Another thing on the roster.
We can't wait to.
He's in a monster truck.
Yes.
You're in a Ferrari.
Yes, I am in a monster truck.
I'm on the Amalfi Coast.
The thing is, he can't go over you because you're way miles ahead. You're in a Ferrari.
Yeah, for me, it's listen. Let me and my monstrosities continue.
Yes.
No, you're in a monster truck.
Yeah, that's one.
Have you ever played that game, Monster Truck Madness?
Yes. Monster Truck Madness.
Yeah, that was a good game.
How's that? Outstanding.
Probably used MS-DOS like you did for
Prince
of Persia.
There you go.
All right, next question. We really wish we could continue because like there's so many things we could cover. But I think this question is like what we ask all our guests. what is one piece of content, a movie, a quote that you think really transformed you and has really assisted you to become the person you are today?
For me, my movie has been real life.
There it is.
There's the flex.
That's a
Come
real-
on, keep talking. Let them know.
Yeah.
And it was just watching my amazing mom doing what she did. How she did it, how composed she was, how warm and gentle she was. I think just watching things in real life and identifying with that, and just identifying that thing or that person around you. For me, it was not a book. For me, it's not a movie. It was, a lot of people ask me, who's your role model? For me, I just said, my mom's my role model. She's around me every day and she inspires me. But she's so humble, but she's so hardworking. And she was able to do so many things in such, like, do you know how grace, you move with grace, but you don't know how much the person is doing? That was what she was. So I carry her legacy and I try to look out for similar people around me. So if you have people around you like that, who trust you, who believe in you, keep them close to you because they're diamonds and gems. That's my advice for you.
Amazing. So observe and then extract.
There it is.
Basically. Yeah.
Well, Jessica,
Wow.
I think it's high time. Now let me sit to this channel and kind of let you know kind of what you mean to the tech space in Kenya. I didn't tell you this, but in 2016, 2017, I was also kind of getting into the startup scene and I was really deeply into tech. And a lot of the people who I met during that time were people who are mobile developers, guys who are into developing the technology and the startup ecosystem in Kenya. And your name and the impact that you've had in this country when it comes to tech, when it comes to putting our name on the global map, has really like been a ladder for which so many other entrepreneurs have kind of stepped on and moved forward to. And I don't think, personally, I'd like to celebrate you. And I'd like to let you know that your mom is very proud of you.
Thank you.
And everyone is very proud of you. And we really celebrate you as a patriot, as someone who continues to carry our brand high. And even with your current venture, which unfortunately we couldn't get into in the interest of time, which is Brave, and how you want to match African developed talent to, you know, innovation that's going to help other Africans. You are the embodiment of what, you know, we want to see young Kenyans kind of become with the powers that we've given them through education. So thank you, Jessica, for the work that you do.
This has been me. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I do know you're curious about the name Brave.
Yeah.
And I would like to celebrate the women out there who are equal to men. Everyone is equal. Why Brave?
Why Brave?
Because my co-founders and I were inspired by the one and only Wangari Maathai, the only African woman in Africa to get a Nobel Peace Prize. She fought for the environment. She fought for human rights. And because of her, today we have the greenery we have. She was beaten. She was swept through everything, but she was bold and courageous. So Brave exists to build bold, courageous leaders across the continent by people unleashing their best potential and exhibiting authentic leadership. and I embrace that in what I do, and so does Brave.
Incredible.
There it is.
You're definitely an authentic leader. And
No other Jessica. Only
no
one.
other Jessica. We know how busy you are. We know how valuable your time is, so we don't take it for granted. So thank you for gracing us on the set. Thank you for sharing a story, being vulnerable at the same time, and giving people gems. I hope that somebody watching this will be able to go down your beaten path and find their own talents and execute that and help society as well, the same way you have. So thank you, Jessica.
Thank you.
We hope to have you back if you have the time. But for everyone watching, I hope you've enjoyed this interview. I hope you've enjoyed the episode half as much
as we enjoy making it.
Why, Oscar?
We had a ball.
There we go.